In this part of the competition, you are taking on a fictional business identity and assigning a fictional business identity to the judges. Please make sure everyone knows who you are and who they are before you begin. You will have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all 3 counts. During this time, teams will be uninterrupted, and when you are finished, the judges will ask you questions for 10 to 15 minutes. During the question and answer period, both you and the judges will remain in character. After the Q&A session, the judges will give you feedback outside their role playing. With that, I will turn it over to the team. You have 25 minutes. It is 1:24, and we will go ahead and start the clock.
Good afternoon. We are Renovive, and we are powering sustainable development, responsible consumption, production, and affordable clean energy.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm the project director.
Hi, my name is Paola Ulloa, and I'm the financial advisor.
Hi, my name is David Cortez, and I'm the legal advisor.
Hello, I'm Victor Moreno, and I'm the ethical advisor. And I'm going to pass the word to my team member, Nicole, to introduce the project.
Good day, senior management and members of the board. Today we present our analysis of the problem of excessive emissions generated by non-renewable resources of energy in the states of Aguascalientes, Mexico, and our proposed solution for a more sustainable future. Aguascalientes is mostly dry and sunny, making it an ideal location for a solar energy. However, the excessive use of fossil fuels and coal in the manufacturing process continues to contribute to environmental pollution, endanger the well-being of the population of the future of the region. As an outside consulting group, we proposed the implementation of a solar panel banks in the city of Jose Maria in Aguascalientes as a solution to address this issue.
Our analysis shows that the implementation of solar panel banks in Jose Maria would provide affordable and clean energy to a population of roughly 130,000 people. This initiative would also enable 310 establishments, including those in the automotive industry, to engage in responsible energy consumption and manufacturing practices, promoting a culture of sustainability and reducing the carbon footprint of the region. Moreover, this initiative would provide access to Wi-Fi and energy to 11,047 boys and 11,544 girls between the ages of 5 and 14, who currently lack the access to these tools in most public schools of the region. The benefits of providing access to Wi-Fi would be improving the quality of education, promoting digital literacy, and empowering students to become active learners in a digital world.
We believe the implementation of solar panel banks in Jose Marias will have the far-reaching benefits for the manufacturing and educational sectors in the region. This initiative aligns with Renovive mission to promote sustainability and contribute to a cleaner and more resilient world by prioritizing the transition to the renewable. I'm going to pass the word to Paola.
Now for the financial impact. In the town of Jose Maria, we have that significant financial impact is affecting homes, businesses, and the economy in general because of the use of non-renewable energy in this region. The cost of electric power and natural gas that is used in this region specifically is generated by non-renewable energy and projects a total of 11 million kilowatts per year just in this region of Aguascalientes. That it means this total of 11 million is is costing this region 90.5 million pesos per year, that it's equal to $6.9 million. The financial implication for our project is that we want to transition this town into renewable energy sources for Jose Maria in Aguascalientes, and this may have a significant implication in the long term and in the short term, with economic and social benefits for everyone, saving around 3 million per year in this area, starting in the short term. Then for the profits, we as Renovive may be able to capitalize the opportunity to offer these renewable energy solutions, especially to homes and the businesses in the town. And these made by solar panels applied in specific areas that we're gonna show up in another slide. And these profits start with the initial investment and the infrastructure and also the equipment for all the solar panels required in this region. Also, we want to obtain financing and government support, so this project may go on in the long term, and also to attract foreign investment to this town, so it can be a better social environment for everyone. Now, for the detailed information, as I said in the last slide, we are here locating the points or the identified sectors in Jose Maria that could be considered to apply for these solar panels and consider for this reduced consumption and improve overall efficiency energy. But also with all these financial implications comes the costs. So obviously this cost is high, but it will be a renewable energy for 129,929 people and 303 establishments in just this region of Jose Maria in Aguascalientes. We can start with modest investments, and this may save up $100,050 per year in energy costs just for these buildings and street illumination. Now I pass the word to my classmate, David.
Hi, I'm the legal advisor, so let's start with this part. Jose Maria, Aguascalientes is a fairly central municipality in Aguascalientes. This is why the correct location of solar panels must be strategic in order to cover the region, and why not later its surroundings. The strategy is to buy lands that belongs to the government through investors and with the help of government of Aguascalientes. The land will be in the surroundings of the municipality, but not far. It's important that it's a place relatively far from any urbanization due to any risk situation of the population. Environmental regulations. The Mexican government has several environmental laws and regulations that must be followed by companies operating in the country. The first one is the location. As we already kind of mentioned it before, the second one is that it's not any natural area that has important flora or fauna, which we damage to put the solar panels. The third point is that we do not invade or be close to any natural reserve or place with rivers, lakes, and dams. The fourth and last one is not to limit the agriculture of the place. That is to say, not to take away possible lands that the natives can exploit for their daily activities. Some of the key aspects of the urban development law in Aguascalientes include the zoning, the building codes, environmental impact assessments, permits and approvals. So let's start with the first one, that it's the zoning. The law establishes the different types of land and use are permitted in each zone, including residential, commercial, industrial, and also green areas. Talking about the building codes, the law sets the minimum requirements for the construction and maintenance of the building, including structural requirements, fire safety, and accessibility for people with disabilities. The next one is environmental impact assessments. Any development project that may have a significant impact on the environment must undergo an environmental impact assessment to evaluate the potential environmental, social, and economic effects on the project. The last one, permits and approvals. Before starting any construction or development project, it is necessary to obtain the required permits and approvals from the relevant authorities, including zoning permits, building permits, environmental permits, and land use change permits. Regulations that apply to the installation and operation of solar panel fields in Mexico. The first one is interconnection regulations. Solar panel fields must comply with technical and safety requirements established by the Federal Electricity Commission to ensure reliable and efficient integration with the national grid. Environmental regulations. Solar panel fields must comply with environmental regulations at the federal, state, and municipal levels, which establish requirements for environmental impact assessment, pollution control, waste management, and protection of biodiversity and ecosystems. The next one is land use regulations. Solar panel fields must comply with land use regulations, including those related to the land use planning, zoning, construction at the federal, state, and municipal levels. The taxes, talking about the taxes. Mexico has several tax incentives to promote the use of renewable energy sources, including tax credits, accelerated depreciation, and exemptions from certain taxes. The next one, contracts and agreements. The installation and operation of solar panel fields may require contracts and agreements with various parties, including landowners, equipment suppliers, and also energy buyers. Health and safety regulations. Solar panel fields must comply with health and safety regulations established by the Mexican government, including those related to workers, safety equipment maintenance, and emergency response. We also have import regulations. Solar panel fields may be subject to import regulations and tariffs for equipment and material brought into the country. In order to comply with all these aspects, it is important, to take into account two main aspects. The first one is the monetary, and the second one, the social. Talking about the monetary, knowing our possible real capital to adapt this whole idea in the best possible way, the agriculture sector is quite small in Aguascalientes and Jose Maria. That is why using a large amount of land on the outskirts should not generate much conflict, since something they do not use will be used for a common good. Talking about a social one, it is important to make the population aware of the importance of the projects, how they will be benefit monetarily and in the future, the strong economic impact that we could have in Aguascalientes, but also, and the most important thing, they have to be happy with the project that will be carried out in their region. Well, thank you. Now I'm going to pass the word to my partner, Victor.
Very well, then. Now we're going to discuss the ethical matters of the project. And well, it is important to discuss the ethical aspect of the project, as in Renovive, we believe that business as usual isn't going to cut it anymore. As the whole point of this project is to create a project that will make good for the society, and not only provide monetary benefits for the entrepreneurship. So with this project, we are looking forward to a more renewable future. In the following slides, the social, cultural, economic, and environmental impacts of the project will be presented, showing the good and the harm created and making justifications on how the good is capable to excuse the harm. Social impact. The lack of access to affordable and clean energy, as well as Wi-Fi and energy in public schools, can have a significant impact on people's lives, particularly those who are marginalized or living in poverty. The implementation of solar panel banks in Jose Maria can help address this issue by improving the quality of life of people of the region. Given that the population of Jose Maria is mostly poor, the access to these goods supposes a great impact in the community. However, on the other hand, public teachers must have a greater level of knowledge to manage teaching with these tools, which will inevitably end in the incapability of some to do so, generating harm in this way. Giving access to Wi-Fi to kids who don't know much about the matter can also be risky, since, well, there's much more there than educational information. So that we have to teach them. But anyhow, public school Wi-Fi networks will count with restricted search browsers as well as age restrictions, so that the websites that promote unrelated content are banned. Having access to Wi-Fi and media will also help the population of Jose Maria to have knowledge of live information on their surroundings, ultimately enhancing the communication of the area for an everyday faster understanding of the ongoing information of the city. Now to the cultural impact. Shifting towards clean and affordable energy supposes a greater implementation of technology, as it requires the development and deployment of new technologies, which primordially will help execute tasks. However, as communities get closer to modernity, the loss of cultural practices is notorious. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure that the technologies used are safe, reliable, and sustainable, and that they will not harm the environment or the local communities. Ensuring in this way that the areas dedicated to cultural activities will remain untouched. A good example for this could be the Festival de Calaveras, which translates to Festival of Schools. And it's a festival that celebrates in honor of Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead, that goes from November 1st to November 2nd. This festival is very famous in Aguascalientes, as the city comes live with music and dances, parade, and so on. So what does it suppose? In this event, there is a giant calavera parade, which is like giant skeleton sculptures, dancers with colorful costumes and other festive elements. Also, there are concerts, theater performances, and other cultural events. The thing with this is that most of the production from the festival is local, meaning that the maintenance of the areas that are dedicated to this event is crucial, which includes the areas that are dedicated to obtaining fabric, food, paper, paint. It's all local. Also, you have to remain the streets unbothered, and there can't be much noise coming from our solar panels, because then the noise would interfere with the music. So those are certain aspects that you have to keep in mind. Next up is the economic impact. The manufacturing industry is the main economic activity of the city, as well as other establishments. will have the capability to produce with a clean and low-cost energy. By lowering the cost, you're creating value and providing more income for the working population of Jose Maria. Lower production costs could also imply a reduction on terminated product prices, providing Jose Maria with a cheaper market, which could lead to Jose Maria being an interesting buying point for terminated products, such as cars or motorcycles, given the main activity of the city. And on the other hand, the original energy provider will come to see loss of profit. However, said energy provider is the CFE, which we already speak in the legal part, as David commented, which is a governmental entity that sells electricity. Although the harm of replacing CFE as an energy provider does not imply great harm, since public entities in theory do not have the intention of generating a monetary income. So replacing it with a private energy provider isn't much harm. Yet by this, the loss of employment from certain individuals due to this impact is a harm to be considered. With the cost being reduced, the amount of money needed to start businesses and entrepreneurship projects would be less. Incentivizing like this, people with low resources, how is the case of Jose Maria, to go for this type of investments, given the reduced risks and loss. Environmental impact. Providing clean and affordable energy to a population where manufacturing is the main economic activity presents a great reduction of fossil fuels and coal emissions, as well as waste, which will provide the area with healthier air, waters, and land. Mexico is known to be as a place where the land has a lot of unleveled land. So there's a lot of mountains and that type of terrain. So the air gets trapped, and if it's contaminated air, it takes a long time for it to be filtered. Therefore, putting out cleaner air is essential for these parts of Mexico. Also, waters and land, most of the wastes end on waters and land. So getting rid of the waste coming from coal emissions and fossil fuels will make the waters and land healthier in Mexico. However, in the process of putting the project into place, transport, terraforming, and machinery usage, between others, will come into place, which in the short term will deteriorate the environment of Jose Maria. Yet, the dimensions of these emissions are worth the harm in comparison to the greater good that the project generates in the middle and long term by permanently reducing the everyday carbon footprint.
Just a heads up, I'm gonna 90 seconds and then we're gonna have to transition.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
We have to wrap it up because it's a 25-minute limit. So you have another 90 seconds and then we're gonna transition.
Okay.
Well then, in conclusion, we urge senior management and the board to consider our proposal for the implementation of solar panel banks in Jose Maria, Aguascalientes, as a solution to address the issue of excessive emission generated by non-renewable source of energy in the region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. And I wouldn't have interrupted if I knew you were wrapping it up that quickly. I just wanted to let you know that we were at time. So generally for the Q&A session, as I had mentioned before, we are going to go ahead and maintain our status as role playing here. So we are currently the board. So as the population of the city of Jose Maria, Aguascalientes, we can go ahead and ask a series of questions about your presentation. And I will go ahead and start. Generally, the senior judge starts with an ethical question. And I see it highlighted here very neatly in your executive summary. You know, the implementation of the solar panel banks and Jose Maria Aguascalientes is not only going to provide affordable and responsible energy consumption, but also benefit many different sectors for manufacturing, assembling, education. So that's pretty ambitious. From an ethical lens, you know, this sounds great. From a practical lens, how long do you think realistically it's going to take to trigger positive effects in all of those sectors that you mentioned? The manufacturing, education, and assembly, and so forth. What's the timetable on all of this?
As we said in the presentation, we have long-term and a short-term periods for affording these achievements. So for the environment and for the ethical and social benefits. Obviously the social benefits may be more in the long term, mostly like maybe 5 years or so, because as Victor, my classmate with the ethical point said, we have these Wi-Fi and digital resources that in some sectors, maybe, especially in the educational sector, had to be made for teaching, especially in schools, because some teachers of this region don't know how to use this technology. So they need to be put into assessments and classes for them to be using this kind of technology. For the long term, we may be using all these materials, equipment, and all the infrastructure for acquiring the solar panels in these regions in Aguascalientes, and also for making a financial impact in the short term. Sorry.
And that kind of answers my follow-up question. I was just going to ask what the opportunity cost is here, in the sense that, you know, it's easy to do nothing and do things the way we've always done them. And indeed, you know, there will be an opportunity to kind of gauge that analysis when you do a deep dive into any kind of civic infrastructural planning. But what are we looking at here in terms of the cost for normal people like us that are just representing the city? Why would we not want to do this? And therefore, why wasn't this done 5-10 years ago?
Well, in Mexico, there's been a little bit of uncertainty about the clean energy, because with the president and the CFE overall, there has been some, like, he wanted to ban, because how the CFE was providing electricity for all of Mexico. And there was an up-raising curve of putting solar panel banks. So he wanted to put a stop on it. So it really reduced the investment people were putting into this type of technology in Mexico. But now there is a more stable area to invest in. Is a good time now.
So you can't think of one reason why we shouldn't do this as people of the city? That's my last question, and then I'll turn it over.
That I can't think of a reason why not to. Or what was the question? Sorry, it was quite fast.
Yeah, that was it. Basically, why would we consider not doing this? So playing devil's advocate, if you would.
Okay. Well, when seeing the ethical aspects of it, where I explained some harms between them, where that well, some people are going to lose jobs at the CFE, so there's a bit of unemployment there. Also, teachers are not going to be not all of the teachers are going to be able to teach with this type of tools, since I don't know, they might be old or they might be too stuck up with the
Careful.
with the ways of teaching that they have now. And also I couldn't finish this part, but it was a part of the externalities, and it is that well, solar panel banks and anything that transfer energy has like an energy loss, which contributes to the greenhouse effect gases. And in this case, is thermal. It is like thermal heat radiation, but the point is that it loses like 30%, while fossil fuel engines usually lose like 80%. So even that harm is better. It is a reason to use this instead of using the other one, because it's just less harm. Even though it generates harm, it reduces the harm that normal engines usually create.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
So really great presentation. Thank you. And Victor, you had made a note, or you said that, with access to Wi-Fi, there is a lot of educational, and then there's some not so educational. And do you propose maybe limiting time on Wi-Fi so that kids don't fall down the same rabbit hole in terms of just looking at stuff online versus doing things that are maybe a little healthier for them, like going outside and playing with their friends, being more social?
Yeah, well, the Wi-Fi in public schools is going to have restrictions which will ban for the user to search any type of information that is not related to educational. Now, whether the Wi-Fi at homes, we can really not do much about that, but we for sure can recommend certain firewalls to put.
Thank you.
Great. We'll go ahead and open it up for our other judges to jump in and ask a question.
The solar panels are rather benign, but this kind of an installation, you didn't mention the batteries, the array of batteries that would be required to provide power at night and on cloudy days. What's the environmental implication of all those batteries? Is it as bad as the environmental implication?
Well, actually, oh, sorry.
Well, you're basically eliminating use of fossil fuels. That's a benefit to the environment. Do the batteries represent a small offset in terms of environmental damage, or is that something that we should be concerned about?
Well, yes, but not really, because the batteries that storage all this energy can last for almost 20 years. So even though it eventually will be come to a waste, it is in the very long term. So the footprint that is being reduced daily is huge in comparison to the amount of waste that the battery generates.
Where will the community get the money for the initial investment?
That's why in the presentation, we proposed the use of foreign investment, maybe from other companies, not specifically from Mexico, but they can be from other parts of the world. So if they see a viability in this project, maybe they can consider to invest. So that's where the money may be coming from for all these equipments and investment.
And also we expect the government of Guatemala, Aguascalientes, to help us, because, well, they will be the people that are going to be like benefits. So we expect the government help.
Thank you.
I think I have a question for the consultant. First of all, thank you for the presentation. That's a lot of good information. Obviously, you guys did a lot of work. Really appreciate that. My question might be because I just couldn't catch up or miss something here, but I'm kind of a numbers person, so I would like to understand if we compare the fuel and coal method with the solar, what's the cost difference there? And obviously, we are the city council, we care about, do we need to raise more tax, you know, in addition to other investments we try to attracting, but definitely tax is a big concern here. So I'm curious to find out, you know, have you guys thought about the cost there?
Well, yeah, in Mexico, you might know that we are sorry, I don't know how to say it, petrolero. Like we have a lot of oil we export, but Mexican oil is very brute. Is when you have to refine it, and when you refine it, a lot of trash comes out. Trash that it's not useful for making engines go. And the cost of that is, well, it's high because let's say you put 100 liters, and from that you can only use 30. So it's a lot of waste, it's a lot of process until that oil can be used. And having solar panel banks, although the installation at first is a bit more expensive, on the long run is cheaper. I couldn't tell you exact numbers myself, but I know for a fact.
Okay. And then the numbers you referred in the presentation, is that in Mexico dollars or is that in US dollars?
No, that it's in US dollars.
Okay.
I put 90.5 million pesos, and then I rounded to $6.9 million. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. That's my question.
Other members of the people of the city. Las personas de la ciudad.
Sorry?
Jeremy, did you have a question?
Yes, my question is probably more towards implementation, but it seems that if the CFE would be replaced, kind of and you've sold me on the idea of it should happen and go forward, but how do you propose that this, obviously there's some barriers to implementation and the investment is a part of it, but who would lead the process to get the investment and try to implement and is that something you're going to need to work with CFE to do at the same time you're trying to replace them? That's kind of the question that I have is what would that look like? And maybe that's the next project you're doing, but.
Well, obviously we'll have to work with the CFE because they are the ones who regulate those type of energy here in Mexico. So yes, we will have to work in hand with them, but it doesn't mean we cannot open them and start working in our own project. We need permits, but not, okay. We need permits, but we don't need later the CFE.
I guess part of the follow-up there is there some value in partnering with them rather than fighting them in that way? Maybe this becomes help it be their idea to implement your solution.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is a benefit to it. The cost would be much smaller, although if we're working permanently with them, there would really be no profits, as it's a governmental entity. So it would be a different type of investment. It would be just for the ethical of it, not really for the monetary part.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Just to follow up on Jeremy's question, despite, so there's the monetary and the ethical aspect in terms of getting the permits and that part of it, do you think that partnership, it might be more ethical than monetary benefits we see in the short term, but do you think it could make the whole process go faster by working with an entity that's already established?
Yeah, it will help make things faster, but regardless, the permits take the same amount of time, even if we are working with the CFE, because even though we're working together, we're still an outside group. So they have to give us the permits. It's not like we're them. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. And also another question I was wondering about with public schools, is there a consideration for rooftop solar and retrofitting the school space? Not solar fields, but is there an opportunity there to utilize their roofs?
Well, that would be a whole other type of permits, because public schools, it's not a private land, so you cannot buy it and put there your solar panels. So I'm not sure how much would that cost or what the permits we need are gonna be, but I'm sure we can go somewhere with that. Yeah.
Thanks.
What other questions do we have? So I guess, when we talk about any initiative, triple bottom line, we want it to be attractive to the people that it affects. And, when I have people knocking on my door, multiple times a week, asking me, have you done a solar analysis? And, at the end of the day, I think people want to know what good this is going to bring them in a very tangible sense. The US government in many successive administrations has sent physical checks to people, whether it's been for COVID or for tax rebates or trying to save face in the government or some kind of surplus. Are the people, us, that are representing the city of Aguascalientes, what can we expect, again, if we make this transition, knowing that some of our friends are going to lose work that work in oil and gas, and there might be some other problems? What's your big selling point that we should take away from this meeting? Being motivated to do this.
Well, first of all, the energy will be clean and cost less. So, and at the end, things should be cheaper, and people who are working will have more income. So just with that, you can expect economic growth for part of the manufacturing companies. And with that growth, they're gonna give people more jobs. And also with the costs being reduced, the entrepreneurship will grow, as there's less loss and risk. So, and because the people of Aguascalientes have little money, they really need low costs for them to be able to jump into some sort of investment. So even if they got to lose some jobs, there will certainly be opportunities for people to come over.
All right, thank you. I'll leave the floor open for another few minutes. If anyone has any questions, it'd be a great time to ask.
Just to follow up on Bob Beamer's question, what will a residential electric bill look like 10 years from now compared to what it is today? Will people be paying the same electric bills, or will they be paying a lot less or a little bit more? How will it look to the residents?
Well, for the electric bills, especially for businesses and buildings in this area and also the homes, the bills will be reduced in a big amount, like from now. Like we have around maybe, I don't know, in pesos will be maybe 1,000 pesos, 1,000 pesos, and maybe in a year or applying all these solar panels things, maybe in 1 year it will be reduced maybe more than half that amount.
Thank you.
All right, last call. Okay, then we are going to take off our hats as people of the state of Jose Maria Aguascalientes, and we are going to offer a little bit of feedback here. I will start. You know, I think that this is probably one of the strongest arguments you can make from a sustainability perspective. The number one issue facing our planet is global warming, is carbon emissions. People know this, and there is no secret. And regardless if you're passionate about animals or if you're passionate about any number of other environmental things, sustainably sourced lumber, it all comes down to having a planet that is managing global warming and carbon emissions and so forth. So solar is clean energy. We know this. Like everybody in some way, shape, or form should have that as a backdrop to this argument. Everybody that shows up to this meeting, regardless of educational level, should know about global warming and should know that implementing solar is generally speaking a cleaner alternative than coal or oil or other forms of fossil fuels. So all that to say, I think you had a real opportunity, and you still do. There's still 2 more subsequent opportunities to showcase this, to pack a punch. You don't have to spend so much time, you know, talking about like why it's good, but rather what the takeaway message is and why these people can really stand to benefit from a personal bottom line perspective if they vote to move this forward. And so you have that going for you. You have that it's a very intriguing and very attractive proposal given all of those things. I would spend some time working also on how you might want to make not just the presentation itself more persuasive and intriguing, but maybe just fine tuning how you're presenting. You know, it was a little distracting seeing the slides on the left and maybe just use presentation mode. And then don't, you know, hesitate about bringing up the excitement and the intonation. You can vary your levels of speaking to engage the audience. I think you had really a lot of opportunities to do that. So anyway, overall, really strong job. Again, a convincing argument. But just, you know, be mindful of those things as you move forward with the subsequent 2 presentations. Sorry, Lisa, and then we will go in the same order we did before.
So thank you so much. I thought it was a very, very good presentation. And in particular, I thought it was visually interesting. The choice of images that you used and color, I thought that was really great. I did notice that sometimes there were full sentences on the slides that would be read, and then sometimes there were bullets. And so just maybe be consistent in terms of, and my preference is always for bullets and not for, you know, reading a full sentence, but I thought it was great. Thank you.
It was an excellent presentation. I liked the way the logic of it, where you kind of marched through all the steps that would be required to get this through the approval process and underway. And I think you did a really effective job of sharing the workload. I wish this were an in-person session so that I could shake each of your hands and congratulate you, but we'll have to settle for Zoom. One thing that I would suggest, if you can do this before the next presentation, I would like to see a little more almost baby talk as far as the numbers. I think you have a simple economic case to make. And if you could make it in one place, I think it would be powerful. This is what the investment is. This is what the payoff is. This is the cost of borrowing this money. And this is how the money would be paid out, or this is how the benefit would be felt. I think that an investment committee would be reluctant to go ahead without having those numbers in their heads. It was a very persuasive and clear presentation. I congratulate you on that.
So I guess I'll start first, and I think it's time to take off my hat, which I just did it, because I found out I probably missed the opportunity to introduce myself, so I'll just do it now. I'm Amber Chen. I'm a VP of Tax of a public traded real estate company, and we purchase warehouses, we develop warehouses, and we rent warehouses. And in my company, just a couple of months ago, we actually did a solar project analysis and presentation. So I find this topic to be relevant to what I just did. Very exciting. That's why I kind of know that you guys did a lot of work, probably more than the work I did for my own company. So I really appreciate that. And then I understand it's probably a interesting presentation way because we're remote, you're talking to a computer, there's not much interpersonal interaction, and some of you might just read from your scripts. It is very important to show your personality and find the connection with the audience in a real presentation, which you guys did really well in the Q&A session. You all have your personality there. You answer the questions really well based on the knowledge you have. I think I have 3 comments here and I'll make it really quick. So I think the first thing is it is really important to know your audience. And when I look at the summary sheet, I saw we are the people, but we're actually the council, right? So if your audience is the council, you always want to understand what they care and what they don't care and where the benefits lies, right? So as a council, they care about the budget, the tax, how to make people like them, probably how to balance the existing power, right? Such as the FEC, you said, want to stay in power. And then you probably also want to talk about, you guys did a lot of work on the legal stuff, but you might want to talk about the timeline. How long does it clear all the hurdles? What kind of work the city actually needs to do to get this project running, right? And then the second opinion is on the numbers, because I heard that you were saying per person we get to save $3 million, but it's hard for me to understand how that number comes from. And I need to understand it if I can sell it to my people, right? And once you draw a conclusion about numbers, you might want to put like a chart on your presentation, like a bar or the column, so people kind of understand, first year we have this cost, we have this benefit compared with coal, so it goes, but in the long run, it makes sense, right? So you kind of use pictures to talk about numbers, which most people kind of hard to get it, right? And then I think the third question is, you always want to play the good guy and the bad guy, because you want to talk about pros and cons. And when you talk about the cons, you want to find solutions too, so that you are basically doing the job for the city council, or at workplace, you are doing the job for your boss, because you are thinking about both sides for them, and then you are finding solutions for them. That's how you shine. That's all I have.
Amazing feedback, Amber. Thank you so much. And also Lisa and Bob as well. Tanya, well, or excuse me, Jeremy, and then Tanya, either one of you would love to hear additional feedback for the group.
Yeah, I'll just echo what's already been said. All of them are accurate points. I do want to point out, thank you. You did a good job of adjusting to your technology challenge. And that may have been a piece to some of the, what I will address is your overall conviction of your solution. I think there's a lot of meat in your presentation. There's a lot there. And it was all good, and you could tell that you had a great deal of research and information and put a lot of different things together. And I'll focus in on the idea of the awareness, which ties to what Amber was saying, and the slide that Bob is recommending, and what Lisa said as well. You got to get your conviction about your solution needs to come through your presentation. It's there. All of the research has been done. It's clear that happened, but within your presentation, and part of that's just coming together as a group with that slide and audience perspective. So overall, excellent, and good job adjusting. I know when it doesn't go exactly how you had it planned, that can throw you off, but I thought you guys did a great job of adjusting in that way.
Well said, Jeremy. Very much appreciated there. Tanya, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just building on what Jeremy said on the presentation, I thought it was very smooth between presenters. I think sometimes on virtual presentations, there's quite a pause as you go between people, and this felt very easy, almost as though we were in person is kind of how it seemed. So really good job on that. And building on what Amber said, I thought, I really like how you talked about the employment trade-offs, and especially for, receivers of the presentation who might not be all for green energy. I think that's helpful, because sometimes it's easy to, think everyone knows solar is good, and it is, and everyone knows about climate change and wants these solutions. And so just to sort of help show those people that might inside be hesitant that you're thinking about these trade-offs, I think adds, and I thought you did a good job.
Fantastic. No, I really echo everything that's been said. And an additional challenge that you have as a group is bringing that international perspective to a group of role players that are all in the United States and may or may not have any predisposure to what the sentiments are in a rural area like Jose Maria Aguascalientes. We make a lot of assumptions because we're around people that are like-minded and think like us and see things that we see living north of the border. But this is a real opportunity for you as well to showcase challenges specific to the geographical region that you're studying and showcasing. And I also laud you for obviously a language barrier. And that's the babysitter who checked out a few minutes ago. I apologize. So with that, if there are no additional comments, I take my hat off and say wonderful job. And we are excited about continuing on the subsequent days with your 10-minute, your 90-minute presentations. Nice job, everybody.